Godzilla has been reimagined many times with many more origin stories. Come December of 2023, Godzilla -1 threw us into a curveball, making more than $75 million at the global box office, not to forget its limited budget of just $15 million. On top of that, it is now the highest-grossing live-action movie from a Japanese studio here in the US, and is maintaining top 10 rank for weeks, with -1 breaking records and the release of the trailer for the next Godzilla vs. Kong film. It is about time that we familiarize ourselves with this vicious monster just a bit better. Godzilla, known as Gojira in Japan, emerged from Japanese pop culture as a significant icon and central figure in kaiju, Japanese giant monster mythology. Japanese kaiju mythology revolves around the concept of gigantic monsters existing as powerful, often mythical beings within Japanese folklore, popular culture, and entertainment. These monstrous creatures are deeply rooted in traditional Japanese folklore and storytelling, representing various themes and embodying cultural anxieties. To begin with, kaiju are often depicted as elemental forces, embodying the raw power and unpredictability of nature. They can represent natural disasters such as earthquakes, tsunamis, or volcanic eruptions, reflecting Japan's geographical realities and historical experiences. Later on, some kaiju went on to originate from ancient legends and supernatural folklore. These creatures can be spirits, demons, or divine beings, often possessing immense strength and mystical powers. Kaiju can also frequently symbolize societal fears, anxieties, or historical traumas. Godzilla, for instance, emerged as a metaphor for the devastation caused by nuclear weapons, echoing Japan's experience during World War II. Depending on the story, kaiju can be portrayed as either protectors or threats to humanity. They may defend the natural order or serve as warnings against human arrogance and environmental degradation. Over time, kaiju mythology has evolved within popular culture, especially through films and television. Creatures like Godzilla, Mothra, Rodan, and others have become iconic figures in global entertainment, representing various allegories and entertaining audiences with their larger-than-life battles and narratives. In essence, Japanese kaiju mythology is a diverse tapestry of mythical creatures that reflect cultural beliefs, historical context, societal concerns, and imaginative storytelling. These monstrous beings continue to captivate audiences, transcending their mythological origins to become beloved and iconic figures in global pop culture. The real inspiration behind Godzilla stems from a combination of historical events, societal fears, and cultural elements in post-World War II Japan. The most significant inspiration for Godzilla's creation was the devastation caused by the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945, which left a profound impact on Japanese society. Godzilla was conceived as a metaphor for the horrors of nuclear weapons, symbolizing the destructive power unleashed by atomic bombs. Jump forward just a few years to 1947, when a Japanese fishing vessel, Daigo Fukuryumaru, aka the Lucky Dragon 5, was launched in order to catch tuna. By March of 1954, the vessel bobbed in the Pacific Ocean near Marshall Island, and the sky in the west burst into eerie orange, like a bright sudden dawn followed by a roar and violent rush of waves. Most of the crew were asleep and were woken by the sky lighting up far brighter than the sun. Minutes later, their boat was rocked by the force of an explosion. The explosion of a US hydrogen bomb test at Bikini Atoll, which resulted in a radioactive fallout that led to the crew's radiation sickness. This, then, was a nuclear weapon story that could not simply be hushed up as a wartime matter, and it led to fierce anti-nuclear sentiment in Japan. This Lucky Dragon 5 incident heightened fears of nuclear radiation and its effects on human health, influencing another narrative of Godzilla. Post-World War II, Japan experienced significant socio-political changes, including the fear of a potential nuclear threat, Cold War tensions, and a sense of vulnerability. Godzilla represented these anxieties and served as a cinematic reflection of the nation's collective fears and resilience in the face of catastrophe. The original 1954 film Godzilla, directed by Ishiro Honda, embodied these themes, presenting Godzilla as a metaphorical embodiment of the destructive power of nuclear weapons and their catastrophic consequences. Over time, Godzilla evolved into a pop culture icon, symbolizing various societal concerns, environmental issues, and the resilience of humanity in the face of adversity. Over time, Godzilla evolved from being a mere destructive force to a more complex character. In subsequent films and adaptations, Godzilla's portrayal shifted, sometimes becoming a defender of humanity, protecting Earth from other monsters or external threats. The mythology expanded to depict Godzilla as a misunderstood creature, emphasizing its intelligence, emotion, and occasional alliances with humans against greater threats. The monster's resilience and adaptability symbolized Japan's perseverance in the face of adversity. The first Godzilla of 1954 was depicted as a terrifying force of destruction, emerging from the sea due to nuclear radiation. This began the Showa era, which refers to films produced during Emperor Showa's reign in Japan. Godzilla evolved from a destructive force to a more heroic figure, defending Earth against other monsters and alien threats. This era saw variations in appearance and abilities, from a more friendly appearance to a more playful and family-friendly demeanor. After pumping out so many ridiculous Big G flicks, Toho Studios' Showa era had gone to its retirement after the 1975 Terra of Mega Godzilla film. The return of the Godzilla in 1984 began the Heisei era. This era presented a return to the original concept of Godzilla as a serious threat. Godzilla's design became more muscular with a fiercer look, reflecting a darker and more menacing portrayal. Following Toho Studios' Godzilla vs. Destroya flick in 1995, this era came to an end. But that wasn't the last of this version of Godzilla, as many reboots kept on emerging after its end, like the 1998's Godzilla by TriStar Pictures. Toho originally intended to wait approximately 10 years before producing its next Godzilla film, allowing TriStar Pictures to produce a trilogy of American-made Godzilla films in the meantime. When TriStar's Godzilla was released in 1998 to widespread fan disappointment and backlash, Toho saw an opportunity to bring the series out of retirement early.
Running would be a good idea.
Thus came the Millennium Era in 1999 from Toho's Godzilla 2000 Millennium. Multiple standalone films in this era showcased various interpretations of Godzilla. Designs ranged from traditional to radically different, each film offering a unique take on the character's appearance and narrative. Following Godzilla's 50th anniversary film, Godzilla Final Wars in 2004, Toho decided to retire the series for another decade in order to renew some interest in the franchise. After a decade-long pause came 2014's Godzilla by Legendary Pictures. The modern Hollywood adaptation reintroduced Godzilla with a design that paid homage to the original while infusing a more realistic and imposing appearance. This version aimed to depict Godzilla as a force of nature and a defender against other massive threats. Following the financial success of Legendary's film, Toho, now all jelly of Hollywood's depiction of Godzilla, formally announced production of its own film, Shin Godzilla. In the 2016 film, Shin Godzilla is a new species created from nuclear waste dumping. It is a monster that changes form to adapt to its environment. After that, there were these three, and this, and this. And that's a lot of Godzilla films, 38 to be exact, if we also count the upcoming cherry on top. Throughout these iterations, Godzilla's evolution mirrored shifts in societal concerns and cultural contexts. From being a metaphor for nuclear devastation to embodying environmental issues, the character has undergone diverse transformations, resonating with different generations and reflecting changing perceptions of the world. Yet the core essence of Godzilla, a powerful and enigmatic force, remains a constant across its various iterations, captivating audiences with its complex nature and evolving mythology. And considering fan response of the Godzilla -1, it is pretty safe to say that Toho Studios have outdone themselves and have managed to beat all its predecessors, as well as Hollywood's depiction of the monster. -1 reboots Godzilla with a new origin, creating an entirely new Godzilla world that begins at the end of World War II rather than the mid-1950s. Screenwriter, director, visual effects producer Akashi Yamazaki borrowed ideas and iconic theme music from the series' great history. It shows a lot of love and respect for resetting the Godzilla timeline and offering something completely new to what came before. Not to mention the character tropes, which is generally lacking in other films, are absolutely outdone and outmatched. So far, reviews and ratings for Godzilla 2023 are skyrocketing. And it is not at all surprising considering the recent sins committed by Hollywood's production. -1 may not be a cinematic masterpiece like Nolan's Oppenheimer, but it also reminds us that we shouldn't always need to ask, where did all that money go, after another Hollywood disappointment. If you happen to watch the video this far, consider checking out some of our other videos on film history, like how Disney's Little Mermaid is nowhere near its real depiction.